Critical Language Scholarships is a program of the US Department of State. It has funding that is provided by the US government, and it was formulated with the idea of increasing the number of students who are speaking and learning what are called critical languages, so languages that the US government deems to be important for US national security and economic interests. So I will just start by talking about kind of the program overview. I'll talk about some of the benefits of participating. I'll give you guys some application tips. And then, so CLS, as I mentioned before, is a summer study abroad program. It's for US students in all fields who are interested in studying a particular critical language. So you can be a graduate student and apply for this. You can be an undergraduate student and apply for this. And it also really doesn't matter what your major is. CLS award recipients really come from all different fields of study. It's a fully funded opportunity, so the out-of-pocket costs to you are going to be minimal, if not non-existent. So they'll cover your flight, they'll cover any program associated costs, they're going to cover your accommodations and even some food costs and things like that. So it really is very fully funded, and if you are given this award, the out-of-pocket costs that you will be responsible for are relatively minimal. So the Critical Language Scholarship Program, again, as I kind of mentioned before, was created with the hope that more students will be learning these kind of less commonly taught and studied languages. They're considered to be critical to the world, to US national security and economic prosperity, with the idea that graduates of the program not only will have acquired excellent language skills in critical languages, but also will be kind of better prepared to compete in a globalized workforce. So the languages that are offered in the program, and if you are applying for this scholarship, you're gonna pick one. You apply to one language. Some of them require absolutely no experience. So the ones in the tan box here on this slide, Azerbaijani, Bangla, Hindi, etc. All of those you need absolutely no prior experience at all in order to apply for this program. In the blue box, Arabic, Korean, Portuguese, and Russian, those require you to have the equivalent of 1 year of academic study in those languages. Now, what they take that to mean is roughly the equivalent skills of having had these languages for 2 college semesters. So if you don't actually formally meet that requirement, like let's say you haven't actually had 2 semesters of Korean, but maybe you took it in high school, or you've had a study abroad experience and you think that your skill level is roughly equivalent to that, then that's fine, you can apply. Your language level will be assessed when you get there to make sure that you're kind of in the right spot. But if you haven't actually had 1 formal year of study, it's asking for the equivalent of that. So it's asking you to like assess your skill level rather than kind of what actual courses you've taken. 2 years of study are required for Chinese and Japanese. And again, this is going to be by the time you begin the program. So these are summer programs. Most of them start in June or July. That means you will have acquired that level of proficiency by the time of the start of the program. Okay, so again, everything is fully funded. Your domestic travel to DC for your like pre-departure orientation, your round trip international airfare, any visa fees that may apply to the country that you're going to, housing and meals are taken care of. All of your classroom instruction, everything that has to do with the program is covered by the funding you'll receive. Any kind of cultural excursions that you're going to be taking. You're also going to get academic credit through Bryn Mawr College. It'll show up on your transcript as credit from Bryn Mawr. As in terms of how the program is actually structured, so CLS has these partner institutes, each of which they're located overseas, usually in a location where the language is heavily spoken. So it's not always the case that you're going to be in a place where the language is the majority language, but it will always be in a country where the language is heavily spoken. So for example, if you're learning Turkish, it may not be the case that you're actually learning Turkish in Turkey. You may be in Azerbaijan, but there is a significant Turkish speaking community in Azerbaijan, for example. In terms of how it's structured, everyone at the Institute, so it'll be you and 30 other Americans, your cohort, and you're all going to have the same weekly schedule. So you'll attend 20 hours of language classes at a particular language institute. You're going to have cultural activities and local excursions, weekend, overnight, and group trips. So you do everything as a group, and it's a pretty intensive program. You don't have that much downtime. The idea is that it's very immersive and it's very intensive. And it's designed to give you kind of very rapid language gains and cultural immersion. You're going to apply to a language, so very important. You're not applying to go to Japan, or you're not applying to like a particular city in Japan. You're applying for Japanese. So you apply to the language, and then they'll place you at an institute in a location where that language is spoken. There's a language policy, so you make a commitment to only speak the target language for the duration of your program, which usually lasts anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks over the summer. Which, as somebody who has participated in programs like this before, I can tell you is the best way to acquire language skills, is to only speak in the target language for an extended period of time. You're going to make very, very rapid gains when it comes to your language acquisition. Most students will also be living with host families in the program, and you'll also have a language partner who will interact with you kind of outside of class and help you with learning the language. In terms of where the people from your cohort will be from and the kind of makeup of what CLS students typically represent, very diverse. You'll have lots of different levels of experience with the language, lots of different levels of travel experience. You may have some people in your cohort who have never left the country before, and others who have maybe a little bit more extensive experience. Undergraduates and graduate students comprise cohorts, all different types of institutions. People come from all across the United States. Many award recipients are very diverse, so over 40% identify as students of color, and 24% are Pell Grant recipients. Now, I always stress that is not to say if those two things do not apply to you, that you're not a competitive applicant for this program. It's just that the Critical Language Scholarship Program has a very keen interest in making sure that cohorts are diverse and represent the diversity of the United States. So there's also a variety of resources available to you when you're over there. You will have a resident director for each kind of overseas site to give you any support if you have any issues that arise. So CLS is a very well-run, like very organized program. All of your needs will be kind of taken care of when you are over there. In terms of the benefits, as I mentioned before, you're going to have very, very rapid gains in your language skills. You're going to get the equivalent of 2 semesters worth of coursework in just those 8 to 10 weeks that you're going to be abroad. And you will get academic credit for those as well. At the end, you'll also get a proficiency certificate at the very end. This is something that can very much advance your career. Not only is this a very prestigious scholarship, it looks fantastic on a resume, but companies will very much give an advantage to candidates that have language skills. Studying abroad and acquiring knowledge of a language gives you, unbelievable benefits to your communication, employability skills, your problem solving. This is something that will open up many doors of opportunity for you in your life. It's a group-based program, so skills in kind of effectively learning together as a group in a new cultural setting is something that in today's globalized world is very, very important and makes you very marketable, no matter what field you're going into. You will also, if you receive this award, you're joining a very kind of prestigious network of very successful alumni. And you will be given access to Department of State alumni resources and events. Additionally, and this is a very big benefit of the program, you will get non-competitive eligibility for US government jobs upon completion of the program. So basically what this means is that there are certain jobs within the federal government that your application will get put in a separate pile. You kind of get evaluated separately from everyone else who's applying. So this is a very, very good benefit for you if you are interested in potentially a career with the US government. I'm here to help you, especially with the essay portion of your application. There are 4 short answer essays and a personal statement. The prompts for those essays are located on the CLS website, and they're the most important part of your application. So you need unofficial transcripts from any higher level institution that you've attended. So not high school, but any other colleges you've attended. 2 recommendation forms. Usually these are professors or academics who are writing these letters, but not always. So you can have a supervisor from an internship or somebody who was your supervisor at a job. Can also be writing a recommendation letter for you as well. It does not necessarily have to be a professor, but really the focus should be the essays. And again, I'm here to help with that. I would love to look over your materials, to help you with drafts. I've served as an evaluator for these applications before, so I know what the committees are looking for, and I'm happy to help you with that if you just reach out to me. Now, ideal candidates, I think a lot of people are tempted to think, oh, I don't know if I'm really an ideal candidate for this, or I don't know how to make myself look like an ideal candidate for this scholarship. It really doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what you're studying. But as long as you can make the connection between what you want to do after you graduate, your kind of tentative career plans, and the language that you've chosen to study. So why do you need, say, Russian language skills in your future, right? What is it about your future career plan that kind of necessitates having skills in that particular language? If you can, in your application materials, make that clear connection between the target language and your future career plans, then you're going to have a much more competitive application. How do you do this? Do some research. So figure out kind of how successful people in your chosen career path have gotten to where they are. And then make the connection between why this language is important to that particular career path. CLS has some really great resources on their website for this. They have an application tips video that I recommend that all of my applicants watch. They'll walk you through the application and kind of step by step tell you some important things to remember. I am your biggest resource on UA's campus for helping you with how to make your application competitive. So please do reach out to me if you decide that you want to apply for this. And that goes for this year. That also goes for future years. In terms of the timeline, we talked about the deadline, November 17th, 8 p.m. Notifications will come in early March about whether or not you've received the scholarship, and most of the programs will begin in June. Now, I've had a lot of questions, of course, about whether or not how with the COVID-19 situation, all of this is changing. As of right now, the application cycle is proceeding as if these programs will run in the summer of 2021. We're all knocking on wood to hope that that is what is going to happen. If it does not, you will be notified. I will be notified. And what they did last year, I can't tell you what they would do necessarily what they would do this year if the programs end up not being able to run because of COVID. But last year, our winners at UA were given the option of enrolling in a CLS virtual session, which is actually underway right now. The courses were kind of pushed back to October and November. And I actually have a student that I'm working with right now who did this for Turkish. And she's actually really enjoying it. She says of course it's not as good as actually going to Turkey and having this experience, but she's really enjoying it. And she can then, if this happens next year, you're able to reapply and given an extra year of eligibility. So if, let's say, you graduate before, after having received the award, you'll be eligible to apply again for the next application cycle. So that's what has been done this year. Now, I can't say for certain that is what is going to happen again next year, but if this gets canceled over the summer, but likely there will be virtual options available is my best guess. And you still get to then call yourself a CLS alum. You still get access to the non-competitive eligibility. So it's still a good opportunity, even though it's not necessarily, an actual real study abroad experience. So this is my information, my email, tmkent@ua.edu.